get up, let me begin. This is TWSN. You ain't heard about us yet, well you better know now, because it's the place that it all goes down. Get up, let me begin. This is TWSN. You ain't heard about us yet, well you better know now, because it's the place that it all goes down.
Shout out Young Swish.
Guys, for tuning in to another episode of the Sit Down Morning Show with Malik Wright, presented by the Right Way Sports Network. I'm your host, Malik Wright. Joined by my co-host, as always, my main man, my best friend, Daniel Almeida. Got a lot of stuff to get into, a lot of stuff to talk about. But before we do us a favor, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live or when we upload content from the TWSN studios. Daniel, I can probably start everywhere. We could start with NBA action. We could start with NFL. We could start with UFC. There's so much to talk about today. But, the first thing I want to talk about Logan Wilson. Logan Wilson, Cincinnati Bengals standout linebacker, requested a trade officially. And, well, it's got mixed reactions, mixed feelings. I've seen people on the old Twitterverse say, so much for drama. I've seen people say, oh my God, here we go again, brother. My thoughts on the situation is it's very clear that the Bengals are moving in a different way. It's very clear that the Bengals are moving on to the younger core, right? We speculated on the show, I would say some of the last few shows we've done, State of the Jungle being one of them, that this could be coming down the pipeline. Not so much a request, but him potentially being traded. Obviously Jeremy Fowler, ESPN, who I have a lot of respect for, came out an article who said, he gave him 60% chance to be traded. I feel like any trade that includes Logan Wilson would have to probably include maybe a player swap at this stage. It seems like the Bengals are trying to elevate their roster as well. So whatever team comes calling, sure, you can come with draft capital, but understand something. And I've always said this, when you deal with the Cincinnati Bengals, be prepared to lose the negotiation battle. Be prepared to lose the war. They will not let you win the situation, if you will. And if you don't give them what they like, well, Logan Wilson will remain a Cincinnati Bengal for the remainder of the season, disgruntled or not. What are your thoughts, though, Daniel?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, and this is a fun conversation. We had a little bit of this talk on State of the Jungle. It's very simple, right? The Cincinnati Bengals, for right or for wrong, they're in control. They've got his contract, and he is under control at least for another season. His cap hit is around $9.5 million. And if they were to keep him on the team and they cut him this offseason, you save about $3.5 million. So the smart move is definitely to entertain a trade. You have to entertain a trade. This is a guy that is sitting on your bench currently. He is not a starting linebacker for your team, and you were the ones that went out and said this. This wasn't Logan Wilson coming out and saying, hey, I want a new contract. You benched Logan Wilson. So he, of course, has the right to feel like he deserves to be a starter, but that also comes with a potential trade request, and he finally requested the trade. So I would 1,000% be entertaining a trade. And I think that, somebody in the comment section, I think Malik Gary said Logan Wilson is worth a 4th-round pick, right? If you can get a 4th-round pick, I think you are running to the podium and running to the phone and saying, hey, we will accept that trade, because I just don't necessarily know if a team right now is going to go and give you a 4th-round pick for Logan Wilson. And if he is, and if a team is, then I would 1,000% accept that. But yes, my stance on this, it's very clear. I would entertain the trade, and I would look for a player swap. Obviously, there's teams thrown out there like the 49ers. Make a lot of sense, obviously, with Fred Warner. Another one that was just thrown out there was the Dallas Cowboys. And it's interesting, right? They're a team that is attempting to contend, and they definitely need some help within their front seven. So I just don't know if they would be willing to give up a 4th-round pick. But I think that's pretty much my stance, is, hey, I think a player swap is undoubtedly the way to go, whether it's defensive tackle, whether it's, a third cornerback, somebody that can help contribute to your team right now. Because if you are just going to go out and trade Logan Wilson for a 6th-round pick, it just doesn't do it for me. It doesn't, because I still feel like him being in a backup role. And once again, like somebody else in the comment section, Cincy KB said, I trade him, but the way we are with injuries, we might need him as a backup. Totally agree. And we saw in the game against the Steelers, he made a massive play coming in. I believe it was on the 2nd or 3rd and long, and he had that beautiful pass breakup. Logan Wilson is still a productive linebacker, but the Cincinnati Bengals are telling us everything they need to say. You're a backup right now. You are not a starting caliber linebacker for us. Or we just don't want to start you. We want to start the younger guys because we know, Logan Wilson, you are not long for the Cincinnati Bengals beyond this current season. So I do think that there's going to be teams that should be interested. And like you said, the Jeremy Fowler thing was very interesting, and it should not be understated. The fact that he listed out 20 players, I believe, and the number one player with the highest percentage to be traded was Logan Wilson. I don't believe that's a fluke. I think that was shocking to me how it's 65%, but I don't think that's a fluke. So looking at Logan Wilson, I think that there should be teams, and I think there will be teams that call the Bengals. But as you've mentioned, Malik, and as we talked about in the State of the Jungle a lot, the Bengals have to win the trade. They're not going to just trade with anybody and take a 7th round pick for Logan Wilson. That's not happening. Even you saw it with the Joe Flacco deal. On the immediate surface, it was Joe Flacco for a 5th round pick. But then you also realize, right, they got back the 6th round pick. So the Bengals are always going to look to win the trade. And for me, winning the trade is a 4th round pick for Logan Wilson straight up, or a 5th round pick and a player, or potentially a 6th round pick plus a starting caliber player. But that's how I view it. I don't think that they're going to go and just accept a low ball offer just to trade him for the hell of it. Like a 6th round pick doesn't do it for me. Hell, maybe even a 5th round pick doesn't do it for me. But I think that it's a conversation that should be entertained by the Cincinnati Bengals, and I would set my bars high if I was them. A 4th round pick, or give me a player that I feel like can contribute. Stephanie also said, or it was P. Kreischer said, do you believe Wilson getting benched has more to say about Barrett Carter, or is it a Logan Wilson problem? I don't know if it's a Logan Wilson problem, but it's a team attempting to move forward, right? You see a guy in Logan Wilson who's probably looked a little bit slow, who's not the fastest guy in coverage, who has been getting cooked at times in coverage, but is a fantastic run defender. But you see your younger guys who you just drafted, you're going to play them, and you've got to play them. Barrett Carter, in an ideal world, is a far more athletic linebacker than Logan Wilson. Barrett Carter, in an ideal world, is a far faster sideline to sideline linebacker, a guy who can play the middle linebacker role, and a guy who can, quite frankly, run with the best of them when it comes to the quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson, like Jordan Love, guys that can get outside the pocket. So it's not necessarily saying, Logan Wilson, you suck, but it's saying you've got to move in a different direction at some point, and you drafted these guys for a reason. So I think it's a new change of pace, but it is something the Bengals are saying very early in the season. We are going to play our young guys, and they're going to get reps because we believe those guys are the future. So
let's be honest about something real quick.
Yeah.
I thought you handled that segment so beautifully. Let me get my wits about me and the whole 9 yards. Appreciate that.
Of course.
I think that whatever the Bengals set the asking price to be, that's what it's going to be, right? And that might sound very generic and very bland and very, what do you mean, Malik? Of course, that's what they're asking. No. Understand something. They're not moving off of what that asking price is going to be, because they'll believe that there's going to be some team out there, some linebacker needy team, whether it's the Colts, whether it's the 49ers, is going to say, you know what, F those picks. We'll trade for a guy that we think could help us this year, but also we control the rights to even next year, because Logan Wilson's under contract next year. It's a win for the Bengals. So the Bengals, there's no way they're parting ways with their, in their eyes, star linebacker. And they're going to treat him as such, even though they haven't treated him as such. Remember, this is the same organization that turned down a 2nd round pick for AJ Green on his last limbs here in Cincinnati. They turned down picks for Andy Dalton their last year here in Cincinnati when things weren't going. I mean, this is a team that was going through a full rebuild that said, yeah, we don't need it. Now, it seems like they will come around to the idea of changing their stripes and doing what it takes to field a competitive roster. But what does that entail? What does that look like? Okay. Well, if a team comes calling for what the Bengals might be looking for, well, it means obliging if it's not necessarily getting exactly what you want, but it's making sure you're leaving the negotiation table with something rather than nothing. That's the next phase of growth for this team. Now, for the Logan Wilson, then this probably is a situation where they probably could and maybe will, get something more than we're expecting. The Bengals consistently overvalue their players. It wouldn't shock me one bit if the Bengals said, we want a third-round pick for Logan Wilson. That might sound crazy, but it's not crazy to me. It's not crazy to me. Now, will a team be willing to say, you know what, I got 3 third-round picks. I'll just give it to you. I'll give it to you. But that you'll never know if you set the listen. What do they always say? Aim for the stars. So that way, if you don't land on the stars, you land on the moon, and the moon was the goal all along. So if your goal is a 4th-round pick, say, well, give me a 2nd rounder.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a 3rd rounder. And then wherever we fall, wherever the chips might fall, that's where they fall. Again, draft capital becomes more valuable after the season ends. It's not as valuable in season. When your team trades picks away, you're like, damn, all right, we don't need those picks. You start feeling a little bit when the draft rolls around and you like a prospect, you're like, oh man, I really wish we had a 3rd rounder. I really wish we had a 4th rounder. And I think the teams that are trying to win, that are trying to compete, don't operate with a scared notion that, essentially we need to hold on to these picks as much as possible. No, they say we need to go out there and make our roster competitive or better because we feel like we can field a championship level team. That's what we've seen the Rams do. That's what we've seen so many teams do in the past. And some have benefited from it. Some have not. At the end, somebody's going to be the donkey, right? Because not everybody can be a champion. Not everybody can win a championship, but it's something to talk about. It's certainly not ideal. You get that trade request right before you take on the Jets coming to town, the 0-7 Jets that are probably fighting for everything, clawing for everything. And it seems like they're beat up every which way. But I've got to think that maybe Logan Wilson got some more news that, hey, you know what? We're going to go even further with Demetrius. Now we're going to go even further with Barrett Carter. Your snaps are going to decrease even more. And maybe is this the time? Week 9 is the trade deadline. When's the trade deadline? Is the trade deadline Tuesday?
Week 9. It would be after the Bears game, I believe. Let me check.
I don't know. I think the trade deadline might be. I think the trade deadline is this is week 8, right?
Yeah.
No, the trade deadline's Tuesday. Then I'm pretty sure. I'm almost positive.
Tuesday, November 4th. So that's right before. Yep.
Yep. The trade deadline is this Tuesday coming up. Well, no, right before. You're right. Okay. So they've got some decision to make. They've got some decisions to make. And somebody said, Malik, do you think it's realistic to get Devin Lloyd? I have no idea. That's a good question. And
I think they'll like him.
Huh?
I think the Jaguars like him a lot.
Yeah, I think that Devin Lloyd's been a very good player for them. And it was not just anybody, somebody with the name Malik Gary. So, hey, follow Malik. There we go. Somebody said, I think they'd want those two. They'd want those two, at least a 3rd rounder. But if Jamar and T toast him this Sunday, they might not want Sauce. I don't know what the interest level is on a Sauce guard. Listen, I know that the Bengals are going to look to get an impact player. I've got to think that impact player is going to come on the defense side of the ball, not unless you're able to get an offensive lineman, which I doubt you're going to do at this point because you like the returns you've seen on guys like Jalen Rivers, Dylan Fairchild, and my guy Dalton Reisner. But we'll see. We'll see sort of what happens. But the Bengals are definitely going to look to win this trade war with whatever team that they look to trade with. Hey, Daniel, I have a question for you.
Yep.
If Mike McDaniel and the Dolphins lose, I say Mike McDaniel because he's obviously the head coach, but do you think that the Dolphins will move on from Mike McDaniel shortly after if they lose to the Falcons this week in dominant fashion? I'll say.
This is a tough question. I guess it's kind of a nod to the segment we did yesterday of, are you in or are you out? Like, I'm going to say no, I don't think so. And for me, the Miami Dolphins situation, we talked about it before the season started, and I'm going to make this very clear. Changes are coming. Head coach, I believe no matter what is gone. I believe Chris Grier should be gone. I believe your quarterback situation, you might need to look at a quarterback in the 1st round of this year's draft. So when I look at this, Malik, to be honest, I've been on the train of, I think Mike McDaniel should be gone now. I thought he should have been gone early in the season. I thought that he should have been on the hot seat. At this point, Malik, I think you might maybe just let it ride out for a little bit. And maybe this is me trying to cope with the fact that the Dolphins just suck. And I feel like they've already hit the bottom of the barrel. You just lost to the Cleveland Browns in a game that was uncompetitive. Your head coach was clearly pissed off at your quarterback. Your quarterback seemed to be blaming the offensive line. Maybe just let it ride out a little bit and clean house closer to the end of the season, maybe even at the end of the season, because there's a real chance you could get the #1 overall pick. There's a real chance you could get a top 3 selection. And what is the difference between looking at your team now and saying we need a change versus cleaning house at the end of the season? The only biggest question mark, and I just don't know how true this is will Mike McDaniel staying on this team ruin the culture moving forward? And I don't know if it will. Like, I'm very confident in order to change a culture, you need a mass movement. And regardless of whether that happens in week 9 of the NFL season or happens in the offseason, I believe it will have the same effect heading into the season. Once free agency comes, you get new players in, and players come into the building, for post-draft, and you have a new feel. I don't think that it necessarily changes week 9 versus at the end of the season. So I do think that there is a realistic shot, Malik, that we do see Mike McDaniel a little bit longer. And I'm not saying that he deserves to be here a little bit longer, but I'm of the belief that this is going to be a clean house situation regardless. And the question to me becomes, is Chris Grier, their general manager, is he gone after the season? Because I know he's got ties close to the owner, Stephen Ross. Is he going to stay or is he going to go? That's the question I can't necessarily answer right now, but I do believe that Mike McDaniel is gone, and I just don't know what it necessarily does for your team right now, Malik. I think that if you were going to fire him, I think you maybe should have fired him after the Cleveland Browns game, but I don't think that this gets any prettier. You got the Atlanta Falcons this week. You're 7-point underdogs. I think the Falcons go in there, and I think the Falcons win. So that puts you at 1-7. It's going to get a lot worse. So I really don't think that they could do any wrong at this point, in my opinion, by keeping him as head coach. So I think that this team is a crap show. I think that he's gone at the end of the season. But for me, maybe just let this team ride it out to the end of the season, and you say, hey, we got a top 3 pick. Maybe it's Ty Simpson. Maybe it's Fernando Mendoza. Maybe we're looking at those guys and saying, hey, we draft them, let them sit behind Tua for 6 to 8 games and realize Tua for sure is not the answer and put those guys in. Or you go out and you draft the top offensive lineman. They've got a lot of different options that they can go, but it's very clear to me the head coach is not the answer. The quarterback is not the answer. And I believe the general manager is not the answer as well. So to be honest with you, Malik, even if they lose, I would probably I'd probably let it ride. I'd let it ride for a little bit, to be honest with you.
Well, I saw somebody in the comment section. I keep saying somebody, Malik, you deserve a comment. Your name stated. Malik Gary in the comment section says, Ty Simpson to the Dolphins. I'm calling it now. I wouldn't wish that on Ty Simpson. Okay. I want Ty Simpson to go to a functioning organization where he's going to be allowed to prove that he could be a cornerback. I'm quarterback 1 in the National Football League. And I hope that he gets that opportunity. Somebody says, why does Daniel say hey so much?
I have a lot of random takes, I feel like.
You do say, not takes, but you do say random words. You'll say, oh, this is fun. This is going to be very fun to talk about. Like,
I do a lot of things I need to.
We'll be talking about something dark. He's like, oh, this is fun. This is what I love. I love to talk about this.
I do.
And I'm like, man, this dude is sick in his head. But I definitely want to get to some best bets. But before I do, it's not a football Friday here at TWSN if we don't invite in the law firm for Fantasy Football Fridays here on the Sit Down Morning Show to help you with your starting lineup. So with that being said, joining us now is the law firm, Steve Bradshaw and Michael O'Hara. What's going on, guys? How you doing?
Morning, Malik. How are you?
I'm good.
Morning.
I'm good. I'm mainly good because I don't have a fantasy team to worry about. I'm not stressing, I'm just talking sports with the guys every Monday, Thursday, and Friday, and I don't have to worry about lineups. Although I missed it a little bit. I missed the itch. I don't miss the stressfulness of it. I don't miss the stressfulness of it. So I want to ask you guys this before I turn it over to Daniel. How are your fantasy football teams doing right now?
Pretty good so far. Bye weeks are really hitting. I have a league where I'm starting Trevion Henderson and Devin Neal because my two starters are on bye. But that's what you kind of get at this time of the year. Overall, can't complain. I know Rashid Rice has made Mike a very happy man.
I can't complain. I can't complain either. It's been a fun couple of weeks seeing some guys get back in action. But yeah, it's by Mageddon. Really having to dig through the waiver wire and find some nasty starts to slot into the lineup, and you just get through it, and you hope that you've built your team for the playoffs, and you either command a lead over your league and get there, or you sneak in. But that's the whole goal, is just sneaking in and making some noise there.
Love it. Love it. So if you guys are new here, what we do is each of the guys give two of their favorite starts. They give one of their favorite sits of the week, and they answer your guys' questions. So if you have any fantasy football questions, drop them down below. We'll get to them in the segment. But who's the guy that you guys absolutely love for this week? And we will start it off with Steve. Give me your favorite start of the week, and then we'll go to Mike.
Yes, I'm going to go with Breece Hall taking on your Bengals. I'm sorry, but for fantasy, the defense has not been great. In fact, that's an understatement. They've allowed the most points per game to running backs this whole year. And the reason why this is not like an obvious start with Breece Hall is because, he's a great talent. He had a really strong middle of the, year, but he's really struggled the last few weeks. And a lot of people are going to be saying Justin Fields is in the lineup. Tyrod Taylor, this offense has looked abysmal. Can I start Breece Hall? And I think with kind of how the landscape is this week, where obviously you have the top running backs still, but there's so many teams on bye. Injuries have just piled up. I think there's really not many better options. And with Breece Hall, yeah, he hasn't played well, but here I'm betting on a good matchup. I think the Jets offense could be serviceable with Tyrod Taylor like they were in that one start that he did have when Fields went out early. And I think Hall could really, really thrive and have a bounce back game. Not necessarily sure I'm betting on him to be like a top 5 back or even top 10 back rest of season. But in this specific matchup, I think you can feel good about him as your RB1 at this point.
For sure. And one thing about him too is you're getting the opportunity. He's getting at least 13 touches a game. You got that. So he's getting the ball at least 13 times, and we'll see what he does with it. But Mike, who's your favorite start of the week?
Yeah, one of the other running backs that, like Steve talked about, just given the buys and injuries, things have been really shaken up, and fantasy managers are going to have to go to some guys that they wouldn't typically lean on. And one of those guys, I think, is Tyler Algier this week. The Falcons take on the Dolphins. For the most part, you're keeping him on your bench just in case Bijan Robinson goes down and he takes over. But I think he can really have some value with Bijan Robinson playing this week. We all know what the Miami Dolphins offer just as a defense in the landscape of the NFL, as well as a fantasy matchup. It's just truly, truly horrific. And in terms of Algier, even though he's typically hovering around 30% of the snaps, just coming in to spell Bijan Robinson, take some touches here and there. I mean, he's seen double-digit carries 4 times this season, cracked 15 carries twice, and has delivered double-digit fantasy points 3 times. And against the Dolphins, I think that the Falcons are going to be able to ground and pound their way to a win with both backs picking up significant yardage. And if they're able to stretch a lead, we've seen Tyler Algier kind of come in and mop up duty and punch in some touchdowns here and there. And I think there's a very, very real path and a clear outcome where that does happen. So I think you can bank on a dozen touches for Tyler Algier this week, and just hope that he's efficient against a terrible defense and perhaps even steals a touchdown.
Absolutely love it. I mean, we'll be talking about our NFL best bets in a little bit, but totally agree. I think Tyler could have a very big game. Steve, give me your second favorite start of the week.
Yeah, this one's a little bit deeper. Honestly, I'm just going to throw out 2 rookies because one of them has a good matchup, one of them not so much. One of them is going to be Jaden Higgins if Nico Collins doesn't play. A lot of people are on the Jalen Noel train, and I think he's a phenomenal player as well. He's kind of shown more. But if we go back, Jaden Higgins was the 34th overall pick in the NFL draft. He was almost essentially a first rounder at that point. He's a fantastic prospect. He was drafted ahead of Noel for a reason. And I think that you should really be penciling him into your flex spot. if you have the opportunity and Nico misses time. The other one's going to be 𝗦𝗪𝗡𝗦𝗪 for the Titans if Calvin Ridley misses or he's even limited. He has a pretty good matchup too, going up against the Colts, who have allowed the second most fantasy points per game to wide receivers this year. I know 𝗦𝗪𝗡𝗦𝗪 hasn't, been consistent, but no one on the Titans has at this point. Cam Ward has a ton of talent, and you never really know if it's going to be one of the games where he looks awesome or he gives you a lot of head-scratching decisions. But again, 𝗦𝗪𝗡𝗦𝗪 and Higgins are both guys where it's like I'm looking at the waiver wire at this point. I'm looking at maybe the last slots on my bench because everyone else is on bye. Who am I going to throw in the flex spot? And I think these are two, solid dart throws that you can make at this point in the year.
Awesome. And before we get to Mike's second one, we had a question from Sean Brennan. He's asking about Ashton Jeanty. Mike, are you selling Ashton Jeanty? Are you keeping him on your team? What are you doing with Ashton?
Like, I would love to sell Ashton Jeanty. I personally don't have him on any teams, but in his shoes, I would love to. But I just don't think that you are going to get something that a return that you can even stomach. It's just going to be horrendous. The overall perception of Jeanty, people aren't questioning his individual talent as much as they were at the beginning of the season, more so just correctly identifying that the Raiders are an absolute dumpster fire on offense. So I just, you can put some feelers out there, see if you can get like a quality RB2 option in return, but I just don't think that there's going to be someone who's willing to pay a price that's worth moving on from him unless you randomly have like a Boise State fan in your league or something. I just don't think you're going to get a good return.
Completely agree. So who's your favorite other start of the week?
Yeah, I'll go. I'll triple down on the rookie wide receivers here. I wrote about it extensively on the site, so go check it out at TWSN for the full write-up. But Tez Johnson coming up against the Saints this week. We've seen him play in a full-time role in the last 2 weeks with injuries to the wide receiver room in Tampa Bay, and with both Chris Godwin and Mike Evans out for this one, that's almost certainly going to carry over into week 8. And in those 2 weeks, he hasn't really been a prolific target earner. There are a lot of looks going to the backs, going to guys like Cade Otton and Emeka Egbuka, of course. But on the other hand, it's only been 2 games, so I don't think we can draw definitive conclusions on the sort of role that he's going to hold in this offense. So we could see a spike in targets, but either way, even if his volume doesn't come up, he's been drawing those downfield looks, 20-plus yards down the field, 10-plus yards down the field, that allow you to rack up fantasy points in droves. So even if he's not going to draw 8 to 10 targets in this game, he can still get there in a couple of plays that generate explosives for this offense. And then outside of that, I mean, we all saw them play in primetime against the Lions. The whole nation saw it. He looks good with the ball in his hands. That screen pass that he took to the house, a couple of other just simple, really, really good routes that he's run, and a couple of other plays over the course of the season. He's looked the part of an NFL caliber wide receiver. They take on the Saints this week, who haven't been they've been a middle of the pack matchup in terms of fantasy points allowed, but we've seen teams put together efficient days through the air against the Saints defense. They've surrendered multiple passing touchdowns this season in every single game but one. So I do think that there's an opportunity for Tez Johnson to make his way into your flex spot this week.
Awesome. All right, let's go to 2 of you guys' sits of the week. Who is a fade for you, Steve, heading into this week?
I feel bad because I know you guys are Bengals fans, and I already kind of dunked on the Bengals once, but I'm going to have to do it again with Chase Brown, and I'm not putting him in my starting lineup. If it's Chase Brown versus Devin Neal, Chase Brown sounds like an awesome option right about now. But if it's not, and you have anything better than that, I don't see things getting significantly better than what they were last week. And Chase Brown had 12 fantasy points. His best game of the year, in a game where he had 108 rushing yards. It seemed like everything was going right for this Bengals offense. I'm not saying that's impossible to happen again, but probabilities are that Joe Flacco isn't going to look like an elite quarterback every single week like he did last week. And the matchup just isn't great either. They take on the Jets, who have allowed the 20th most fantasy points, so 13 least in the NFL. It's just not a great matchup. Chase Brown's a guy that I think if you were going to really have optimism, Ja'Marr Chase, for fantasy is finally saved by the Joe Flacco trade. T. Higgins, he was the guy that was on the border as well, that now you can – maybe you don't feel as good as Ja'Marr Chase, but you feel good about T. Higgins. Like, yeah, maybe he's not a wide receiver 2. Maybe he's a startable flex. But Chase Brown, it just feels like if he was going to have that breakout game where, he's going to be the guy that we all drafted him to be, it would have been last weekend. Just the lack of, volume in the red zone, the lack of touchdown equity. I'm just out at this point, especially if it's not like a top 5 or top 10 matchup in terms of fantasy points allowed.
So we had a question from Jared Gundler. Chase Brown or Rico Dowdle? Who would you pick, Steve?
I would go Rico at this point. I think he's just shown to be a better rusher. The Panthers offense, I know, has not been great either. Bryce Young might be out, but Rico Dowdle, I mean, it's tough to, when you're betting on kind of 2 upside shots at this point, upside I say loosely, I'm betting on Rico, who is still a fantastic player who's ran for 200 yards twice this year. Chase Brown has ran for over 50 yards once this year, and that was last week. So I'm going to go Rico.
All right. Mike, who's your fade of the week? Who's one of your favorite sits, a guy that you are not putting in your lineups this week?
Yeah, this is someone we actually talked about on the show last week in response to a question, but I don't think you can be going to Matthew Golden this week against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And we all saw on primetime Joe Flacco and company pick apart the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. So people might be fired up to get some Packers pass catchers into their lineup after seeing the state of that secondary and just some aging corners in Pittsburgh looking vulnerable. But what I talked about last week in response to that question is the floor to ceiling combination with a guy like Matthew Golden. We all know what the talent is. He can generate explosive plays. He can get downfield. We've seen it here and there in glimpses this season, but considering the floor as well, it's just really hard for me to take on the risk in hopes that he hits that ceiling and he generates a big play or finds the end zone, because this is a receiver. He's a first round wide receiver, and through 7 weeks, he has not held the solo lead in a single week for targets in Green Bay. He tied for the lead in targets in week 3, but that was a 3-way tie, and it was a 16% target share. So it wasn't some breakout game from him. Talking about that target share even further, he hasn't cracked a 20% target share in a single game yet this season. So we all kind of knew what we were getting when we invested, if you invested into this Packers passing attack. We knew it was going to be a very, very widespread target tree with a handful of guys who could all earn targets in any given week. That leads to volatility and just inconsistent fantasy production, and that has reared its ugly head. Some people thought that Matthew Golden would be able to kind of overcome what we've seen in Green Bay over the last couple of seasons, but that's not proven to be true to this point. I wouldn't completely rule it out of the equation. I mean, he has only played 7 NFL games so far, but I need to see it before I put him in my fantasy lineup kind of situation.
For sure. And is there any other guys that you guys want to touch on really quickly, whether it's a guy that you are fading this week, a guy that you absolutely love this week? Is there any other players that you guys want to touch on real quick?
I'll touch on one more fade, and that's going to be Jauan Jennings. I know a lot of people kind of ask about him, every week. Like, is it time to finally start Jauan Jennings? Because he had a decent amount of hype coming into the year. And at this point, they take on the Texans. I think he's just a guy where, kind of like Mike talked about with Golden, you have to see it. He's just been so banged up, clearly playing through injuries. He just hasn't shown it this year, and you're going to need to see it from him before you put him in your starting lineup. Even though it seems like Mac Jones is going to be playing, that's not really like a death sentence at this point with how good he's looked. I wouldn't be shocked if the 49ers just go out there and boat race the Texans without Nico Collins, because the Texans have just looked really, really bad this week. So I think if you were going to take a shot on Jauan Jennings, you'd want it to be a more advantageous matchup where maybe both teams are going back and forth in a shootout, but that doesn't seem to be the case. So just keep Jauan Jennings on your bench. He's probably not worth cutting at this point. I don't think you can trade him, so I'd hold, but you can't really start him. And just hopefully this 49ers team can get healthy. Hopefully he can get healthy, and maybe he can be a fine flex option for the fantasy playoffs.
All right.
You know what? I've got a little bit of thoughts, guys. You know what? I got a little bit of thoughts, guys. I'm a little disappointed in you, Steve. I'm a little disappointed in you, Mike. Hear me out. I talked to you guys about the tight end breakout. I talked to you guys about it. I told you guys Kyle Pitts was here, right? Kyle Pitts has been increasing in that Falcons offense. And how didn't we bring up Kyle Pitts this week against the Dolphins? How didn't we bring that up? The Dolphins have been abysmal against tight ends this year. You don't believe me? Let's talk about it real quick. Dalton Kincaid went for 5 catches, 66 yards on Tyler Warren, 7 catches, 77 yards on Harold Fannin. In the rain, had 4 catches on these boys. Oronde Gadsden, 7 catches. I think he went for like 60 or 70 yards on them as well. Even Mason Taylor had his best game as a pro against the Dolphins. And boys, do you want to know what Sunday is? National Tight End Day. 100% we're feeding the tight ends. 100%. There's a couple of tight ends that I think are going to have a big day, but let me just let the cat out of the bag right now. I think Kyle Pitts absolutely destroys the Dolphins secondary this week. I want to get you guys' thoughts on it because, I feel like I've been a little bit of alone on the Kyle Pitts train this year, but hear me out. I think that this is going to be the game. This is going to be the Kyle Pitts breakout game, the official one where everybody's going to be like, oh, snap at you. Because guess what? You don't have the weather to worry about. It's inside of a dome. I think he has a big game. I think he shocks a lot of people. Give me Kyle Pitts to destroy the Dolphins secondary. So much so. Damn, I'm feeling a little frisky, man. I might take Kyle Pitts to get 2 touchdowns this week, man. I might do it. I think Kyle Pitts goes for about 80 yards on the Dolphins. Probably about 6 catches, 80 yards, something like that. What do you guys think, though?
I think he's a clear-cut starter in fantasy football this week. I mean, like you brought up, tight ends picking apart this defense. I mean, yeah, that's going to happen when you're rolling out a bunch of UFL linebackers and safeties on your defense. So, yeah, just given the track record and like we've talked about in the past on this show, I mean, that bottom half of the tight ends kind of landscape, you're playing the matchups, you're playing trying to pin the tail on the donkey with touchdowns and pick on bad defenses. And he definitely checks all of the boxes to be within starting lineups this week. So, yeah, I 100% agree that Kyle Pitts could very well have a strong outing against the Dolphins.
What do you think, Steve?
I agree. I think I didn't really bring up Pitts because I kind of try and look at the consensus ranks to see, not super obvious starts. And in my opinion, I think he is an obvious start this week. Like you said, Malik, with a great matchup. And he's been good this year, maybe not necessarily Pro Bowl level, like, the breakout to his draft capital would have been. But I think he's a guy that you can pencil in your lineup each week, regardless at this point, at least as a low-end tight end one, especially against the Dolphins. I just try not to bring up Kyle Pitts too much because I was so in on the Kyle Pitts train, and, seeing him disappoint me just hurts the heart. So, Malik, you can keep bringing him up, but
it's okay, Steve.
I can't do it.
You walked so I could run. And guess what? Now I'm running with it. Kyle Pitts breakout. I'm willing to bet my firstborn. I think Kyle Pitts has a breakout game against the Dolphins. I can't wait for it. I'm excited. I'm that pumped up. But listen, guys, thank you so much for joining us as you guys do each and every single week. Make sure you guys give these guys a follow. I'm not done yet. For my best bets for tight ends this week because it is National Tight End Day. Appreciate you, Mike. Appreciate you, Steve. Hope that you guys enjoy football this upcoming weekend, and best of luck to your fantasy football teams. We appreciate you guys. We'll see you guys next Friday.
Thanks, Malik. See you guys.
You.
Yes, sir.
See you.
See you. So I'm still on my train. I'm still there. Let's put it back up. It's National Tight End Day. Sound the alarm. There are a lot of guys that I think that are going to show up, show out, have big games. And Daniel, let me be the one to kick us off. I love National Tight End Day because guess what? It's the one time that these freaking quarterbacks say, you know what? We're going to throw to the position that the league is still trying to figure out how to cover. We're going to throw to the guys that are probably going to make life easier for us. There's a couple guys, 6 guys to be exact, that I think have big games. Kyle Pitts is one of them. You already heard me talk about it. Smash Kyle Pitts over 4.5 catches. Smash Kyle Pitts to have a touchdown. Here's a couple of guys that I like to have touchdowns. You guys know I don't usually do this. I don't usually give out parlays. I always say, save your money. This is how the big buildings were built in Vegas through parlays. They want to steal your money. But here, hear me out. There's a couple of guys that I think have big games. Let me talk to you about it. Dallas Goedert will score. Dallas Goedert will score against the New York Giants defense. But guess what? Theo Johnson will score against the Eagles defense. Theo Johnson had opportunities last time he played the Eagles, and I know he's probably salivating to get that one back. I think this Giants team is going to come out fired up, especially how they had that loss, swindle away from them, if you will. I think that 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, who has quickly emerged as Baker Mayfield's favorite target, him and Sterling Shepard are guys that in this Buccaneers offense you need to be looking at. I know everybody wants to say Onyeka. No. Onyeka is a good option. I hear you. But Sterling Shepard is a guy that is emerging in this Buccaneers offense. Last week had how many catches did he have? Like seven catches. Albeit the yardage wasn't there, but he was also going up against the Detroit Lions, and the Lions might not even be there this week against the Saints. Although I have a hard time believing that. He's a guy that is clearly built up rapport with Baker Mayfield. He's a guy that those props are definitely going to be smashed for, hitting for. So give me 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 to have over 4.5 receptions. He's been absolutely crushing. Sterling Shepard's going to also crush it. But Dalton Kincaid is back for the Buffalo Bills. The Bills are trying to get that sour taste out of their mouth coming off of their bye. And guess what? They've got the perfect dance partner, a team that has quietly been shocking teams around the league, and that's the Carolina Panthers. But I think Dalton Kincaid announces his return in the starting lineup with a bang, and I think he gets a touchdown on National Tight Ends Day. And you guys are lucky. The books are lucky because guess what? They don't have props up for the Bengals game just yet because guess what? I know something. Well, I don't know something, but I have a feeling about something. I think that I got to be very, very careful now. I got to be very, very careful with just, getting amped up and hyped up because people have been like, do you actually know some stuff? No, I don't know anything, but I just watch a lot of football, watch a lot of film. I like 𝗦𝗏 Fant to continue to emerge in this Bengals offense. I really, really do. I agree with the guys about Breece Hall. I know we're just spitballing about props in this National Tight End Day, but these are some guys that I think could definitely have some big, big time games. I've got some more for you guys, but if I'm telling you guys about a parlay that I'm going with, man, shout out to the dark parlay. If you want the little change and a little coin on it, sure, do it. And that's Dallas Goedert anytime touchdown, Theo Johnson anytime touchdown, Dalton Kincaid anytime touchdown, and they are lucky. They are lucky they don't have the Buccaneers touchdown props up because I would have went with 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 to have a touchdown, but instead I'll set up for 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 and have over 4.5 receptions. Daniel, what say you?
I love it. I love the National Tight End Day. I'm a big fan of it. I think there's a couple that I definitely like, and I think the Falcons side, probably my favorite bet of the day. I'm with you. I think Kyle Pitts is a hammer. 41.5 yards. Take his yards. Take his receptions. He is going to have a field day against the Miami Dolphins, but there's just a lot of good options. I think the one game that I'm trying to find the best possible option for is the Tennessee Titans versus the Colts. I feel like there's a lot of opportunity here. You mentioned Tyler Warren. I also think when you look at the Tennessee Titans side, I think Gunnar Helm, rookie out of Texas, he saw 4 receptions, 2 receptions, 4 receptions in the past 3 games. He's starting to gain some momentum. You said it's National Tight End Day. We know Anarumo and his defense has given up a ton to tight ends. We saw Trey McBride go off against them. It's the dink and the dunk. And I think Gunnar Helm at 2.5 receptions.
Shout out to my mom with that comment, huh?
Your what?
My mom. She always says the dink and the dunk. We always joke about that.
For sure.
Somebody said something that I want to get to real quick, Danny. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, you good.
They said no George Kittle on National Tight End. I'm sorry. I saw Mac Jones barely even look the guy's way. I know that this was an easy player for us in years past, and maybe it was, hey, George Kittle was just getting settled back in with the 49ers offense, but to have 0 catches, George Kittle, the guy that literally helped make National Tight Ends Day a thing, 0 catches? Yeah. I bet serious coin on him last week. I'm not going to bet serious coin. Matter of fact, I'm not going to bet coin on him at all. Now, guess what? Prove me. Go out there. I'm from the show me state. Show me. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe George Kittle goes out there and has a monsters game. Maybe Mac Jones will target him. Maybe he'll go out there and have 2 touchdowns. But guess what? I refuse to not be fooled again. And I'm not going to be fooled again. Daniel, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm not. There's certain players that if you get burnt by them in a specific way, it's just best not to even mention them, not even to talk about them, not even to bet on them. I think George Kittle, after last week, he even mentioned it. He said in the walkthrough before the game, I thought I was going to have 10 receptions, 100 yards, and a touchdown. And clearly, it's not the way the game went. Well, clearly it wasn't. You had a terrible game. But I agree with you. I'm staying away from George Kittle. Looking at that game that I was talking about, the Tennessee Titans versus the Colts, something I like, and I'm going to take a shot here, but I think Cam Ward to have 250 passing yards is a very, very, very good look. You saw the change in head coach, Brian Callahan, and now they got Mr. McCoy over there. And McCoy is a pass-heavy guy. We saw last week, 255 passing yards against the Patriots. The Colts are probably going to dog walk the Titans, but in the world where they even don't, I think 250 yards, you're getting that at plus 265. And I think Cam Ward is a very talented young quarterback. And you're giving me 250 passing yards at plus 265. That's like stealing money for me. And I think that's great value because 250 passing yards, that's not like 300 yards. When you're looking at a lot of these other quarterbacks, to get plus 265, you need to go bet 325 passing yards. You're getting 250 passing yards. I'm a big, big fan of this. Another one that I like, I hate going about it this way, but Jackson Dart's rushing yards is something I'm still going after. I know last week he didn't have 50-plus passing yards, but you're getting this at plus 180. He's going up against Philadelphia Eagles. We saw this matchup before. He had 50 rushing yards in this. I just struggle to see how Jackson Dart's going to change his play style. He is a very athletic quarterback, and he's the type of guy where, hey, if the play breaks down, I am going to run the ball. 50-plus rushing yards for me at plus 182 is something I absolutely love. And the final one is I'm going to keep targeting that Dolphins game. I think Bijan Robinson goes off, and I don't think that this is really a question. You're giving me 88 rushing yards for Bijan Robinson. I think he easily clips 100. I mean, we just saw what 𝗧𝗎𝗏 did, 200-plus against them. Jonathan Taylor balled out against them. They're one of the worst defenses in the league. Bijan Robinson is going to break a big play against them, and you can get Bijan Robinson's over 88 rushing yards, something I absolutely love. Looking at the rest of the slate, I mean, there's definitely some good games, and there's obviously some good options. I think another one that's very intriguing as well is the Cleveland Browns versus the Patriots. This is one that it seems like a grimy game, and of course it definitely is a grimy game, but give me the 𝗪𝗪𝗓𝗏 for sure. I also like, his receptions. He is one of the favorite targets of Dillon Gabriel, and to be quite frank with you, Dillon Gabriel is not a great quarterback, and you saw the past couple of weeks, who is the guy that he's consistently targeting? It's his tight end, 𝗪𝗪𝗓𝗏. And another one I just like the Patriots to win by 7. I know we don't, and I don't necessarily give a lot of straight up team props, but the Patriots at -7 in this game, they're a far better team than the Cleveland Browns. They're playing at home in this game. I think the Patriots win by 10+ against the Cleveland Browns on Sunday. So, yeah.
Listen, I love 𝗪𝗪𝗓𝗏. Hell, you might even get an Austin Hooper touchdown or Hunter Henry touchdown. I have no idea. I just rather just be like, okay, let's see what happens. But I definitely think there's going to be some big, big plays that are going to happen. I definitely think some tight ends are going to happen. Daniel, I love hearing you talk tight end ball. I really, really do. I'm glad that you brought up some tight ends. I'm glad that you brought up some tight ends that you think are going to have some big games. Listen, it is a Sunday full of tight ends to make big-time plays. I'm excited. I'm pumped up for it. Again, if you want our plays, subscribe to the TWSN Patreon where you'll get all of our plays. And you can guess what? You can see me give all my plays for NFL action, UFC, NBA. So much action to talk about, so much stuff to get into. Let's get into our best bets for NBA before we bring our guy Evan in here. Daniel, what are your best bets for tonight?
Tonight is a couple games that I like, and I'm going to go up against my own team. This is Boston Celtics. And I think Jalen Brunson has a very good game today. This is something I'm very confident in, and I like his over in points. I believe it's at 27.5 on FanDuel, 26.5 now on FanDuel. You look at what he did in the first game. He dropped 23 points, but he shot 1 of 9 from 3. And he was going up against the Cleveland Cavaliers, who have a fantastic defense. And when I look at Jalen Brunson's game, they've got a new head coach, and the head coach is putting Jalen Brunson off the ball a lot more. So it's not like Brunson's bringing the ball up, but he's getting a lot more open looks. And that comes from Mikal Bridges being the now point forward for them. And we saw in the game against the Cavs, he was getting open looks. He just didn't hit a lot. I believe he was 5 of 18 from the field. That's not going to happen again. And I think you look at, he was 1 of 9 from 3. That's not going to happen again. And I look at the Boston Celtics. I'm a Celtics fan, but their defense sucks right now. And that's the truth. You look at what Tyrese Maxey did against them. He dropped 30 points. You look at what another rookie guard did against them in the same exact game, dropped 30 points. Jalen Brunson is going off for 30-plus points today. And we're going to be looking at this after the game saying, how the hell was his line at 26.5? Because Brunson is going to have a master class today. They played a lot of team ball last game. They got the win. I'm feeling a Jalen Brunson masterclass. Looking at the Bucks versus Raptors game as well, this is a fun one. And this is a game where I think we see a new guy kind of break out for the Raptors, and that's Brandon Ingram. Brandon Ingram was traded from the New Orleans Pelicans last year and is the new addition. And you look at what Brandon Ingram's done. He had a very good game last game, and he's kind of their go-to guy. I know they got Scotty Barnes. They got Emmanuel quickly. They got a lot of these players that can score the rock, but one of the guys their entire offense is funneling around is Brandon Ingram, and he's also very good in transition. So for a team like the Milwaukee Bucks right now, who love to get up and down the court, they love to play at a fast pace. We saw that in the matchup against the Washington Wizards last game. I just think Brandon Ingram's line at 20-plus points, I don't think you can get much better than that today. And I also like his ladder at 25 points, and hell, I can even see him going up and getting 30 points. There's definitely some other good games. One other one that I really like is the matchup of the Twins. I think you got Amen Thompson versus Ausar Thompson today. And I'm taking Amen Thompson. I know that their team last game, they were kind of all over the place. You had Alperen Sengun score 39 points. Kevin Durant. You got a lot of different scores. But the guy who's going to be bringing the ball up the court as well is Amen Thompson. He's their point guard. He's uber athletic, and I don't really rate the Pistons' interior defense a whole lot, especially given Jalen Duren has had foul trouble. And I think that Amen Thompson, if you're looking at his points straight up, you're getting him at, I believe, 16.5. I think he goes off for 20 points today. Like I said, he's playing up against his twin brother. He's playing at home, and I really like the opportunity that he had last game. I think this is a new reality for him with the Houston Rockets. He shot 8 threes. He missed them all, but he took them. So he's going to be taking a lot of shots in this game. And like I said, I'm a big fan of the player, and I think that his pathway to success is by scoring the rock, and 20-plus points I feel like is going to seem very, very easy today. And one last one I like, I'm not quite sure this is necessarily up yet. It is. Norman Powell is the Miami Heat's new scorer, right? Tyler Hero's not playing. He's currently hurt. And when you look at the rest of the roster, nobody's really scoring the rock. So I can get Norman Powell at 22.5 points. I believe he went out and dropped 30 in the season opener. Norman Powell is a player who is one of the better ISO scorers in the league. He's one of the better microwave scorers in the league. And he's finally on a team that's letting him be a starter and be that main scorer on a team. We saw it with the Clippers, where he was typically their sixth man, and he'd come in and say, hey, you're scoring the ball. Now he's with the Miami Heat, who can be on the starting lineup and can say, hey, you're scoring the ball. So I like the Miami Heat to feed the rock to Norman Powell today, and I think that he has a very good matchup against the Memphis Grizzlies. Give me Norman Powell over 22.5 points.
Is there anything else that you like, Daniel?
Yeah, I could definitely rattle off some more. I think looking at the rest of these games, I mean, obviously we got the Golden State Warriors against the Portland Trail Blazers tonight. Portland Trail Blazers have a new head coach right now, and I think that we're going to see a little bit of a change in some of their rotations, right? Last game, we saw 𝗦𝗢𝗢𝗏𝗧, somebody we talked about in the previous shows. I think we see him play more minutes today, and this is a game where he's going up against the Warriors. We just saw them in overtime, double overtime, if I'm not mistaken. They played a big game against the Denver Nuggets, and they got to fly to Portland, and the very next night play a game. And I just don't really rate this Warriors defense right now. I think they're good. I think Draymond Green is fantastic, but you're coming off playing 40-plus minutes the night before. I think 𝗦𝗢𝗢𝗏𝗧 has a big game. And not only that, I like his assists as well, because his play style, he is a point forward. He can score the rock, but he tends to let the offense flow through him. And when we saw last game, his teammates were just missing shots. I believe he had at least 6 threes that were wide open that he passed to, that missed shots. I believe those get corrected. And when I look at his line, It's at 4.5 for his assists. I think that's a steal. I think that is a first half line. And I believe 𝗦𝗢𝗢𝗢𝗪 cashed that in the first half.
You know what's something funny I want to talk to you about?
Yeah.
We haven't really got a chance to really talk about it, but the rebound whisperer
Mm-hmm.
is me.
Mm-hmm.
It's who I am, right? And last night we were on an absolute heater. I didn't get a chance to talk to you about these plays, but you know, we looked at it last night. I said, hey, you know, if I'm you guys, I'd take. Well, we didn't say it necessarily on the show, but we said it obviously on the Patreon. And honestly, the Patreon really is a gold mine because where you get all the plays. I said Jokic over 11.5 rebounds. That smash. Said Janti Kuminga over 4.5 rebounds. That smacked. Aaron Gordon over 5.5 rebounds, who had the greatest game in Aaron Gordon career. That smacked. Pascal Siakam over 7.5 rebounds. That smacked. Chet Holmgren over 7.5 rebounds. That smacked. The only play that hurt us from having a beautiful day was Jonas Valanciunas deciding to stick behind the three-point line and not be a center and actually go up and be aggressive. But that robbed me of a huge, huge day. That robbed us of a huge, huge day. I mean, by huge day, I mean, this was a huge day regardless. We went 5-1 on our plays, right? But we're talking about the rebound whisperer plays absolutely cooking the sports books. That's what we love to see. That's what we love to see. So, you know, at the end of the day, there are a lot of plays that I like tonight. I'll give you one as the rebound whisperer, and that is Luka Doncic to have 8 boards tonight, sitting at -1. I would even take Luka Doncic to have 10 boards. But I'm going to give you a secret play, guys, that has hit every single game that Rudy Gobert has played against the Los Angeles Lakers in a Timberwolves uniform. Rudy Gobert, and I want to make sure that I tell you guys this correctly. Rudy Gobert to have a double-double has hit every single game against the Los Angeles Lakers. And right now, the Lakers are also underdogs. I think the Lakers could win tonight. I really believe that. But if you're taking Rudy Gobert to have a double-double, guys, what did I just say? It hit in every single game. It's sitting at +200. That is my play of the day. Rudy Gobert to have a double-double against the Los Angeles Lakers. What do the sports books know that I don't know? Because every single time Rudy Gobert goes against DeAndre and he steals his lunch money. Oh, I'm sorry. The sports book must be looking at the fact that last time Rudy Gobert suited up, which was just the other night, he had 6 boards. That's probably what they're looking at. Don't be fooled by this. Smash this line. Take it. Marissa, clip it. Rudy Gobert gets a double-double tonight. That is my play of the day. Hope that you guys drop down in the comment section what your favorite play is, if you have a favorite play. But man, I like where we are standing tonight. I really like. I like the return on what we might do. It's going to be a competitive game. Oh man, I'm pumped up for NBA action again. But you know, it's UFC this week. It's UFC this week. UFC 321. Tommy Aspinall taking on Ciryl Gane. And it would not be a show if we didn't bring in my guy, my enemy almost, that I go head to head with. All right. When it comes to our UFC plays, Evan Theo Harris. Evan, what's going on, my man?
How you doing, Malik?
I'm good. Evan, I want to say something. I don't like when you and me agree. The reason why is because when you and I agree, the opposite happens. We both took last week, we both said, hey, we thought that 𝗦𝗢𝗙𝗪𝗏 was going to go in and beat Brendan Allen. And I had a change of heart right before the fight. Literally right before the fight, I had a change of heart. And I said, I think Brendan Allen is going to win this fight. And I bet Brendan Allen I wound up hitting. But it sucked because I didn't have that read going in. You know, it's something weird with me, Evan. I want to tell you. You give me a lot of praise, you know, offline for my sports book betting when it comes to UFC guys. But I'm really telling you, man, I'm a weirdo when it comes to this. And I can admit this publicly. When guys walk to the octagon, I can tell by their mannerisms if they're in it or they're not. And when I saw 𝗦𝗢𝗙𝗪𝗏 walk to the octagon versus when Brendan Allen walked to the octagon, I saw two totally different, I don't know. I saw two totally different mentalities. And I have the slip to prove to everybody. I bet Brendan Allen to win this fight by finish. Because I thought when I saw, you know, in the book, they closed it right, like literally right after I placed it. I saw Brendan Allen walk to the octagon. He just seemed more focused. He seemed more laser. And he seemed like he wanted to be there. He seemed like a guy that was going to take advantage of the moment. And that might sound superstitious. That might sound idiotic to you guys. But I think there's a reason why we have cashed so big on our UFC bets. And that's why I take a lot of pride in when I give you guys picks, because I live and I breathe this thing. I study. I watch every card. It could be a card in China at 2 a.m. I'm up watching it. Doesn't matter if it's a pay-per-view. It doesn't matter if it's a big name card. And I know that a lot of people that give out, picks and stuff like that. And, John Anik gave me the crown where he said, Malik, you're the best at what you do. And I took that to heart. And so I say all that to say, any single time that we step on here and we gave you guys picks, just know there is a lot of work going into it. This is not just a lean or a read. We live and breathe this thing. And we want to see you guys win. I love when people send me their slips and they say, hey, Malik, this is what I hit on. So I don't mean to be long-winded with that, Evan. I just wanted to say, man, it was crazy just the feeling that I got. I want to create almost like a community, all of us, where we can talk to people as the fights are happening and be like, hey, this is the lean that I'm feeling, because sometimes I don't have leans for fights going in, or sometimes I'm like, live bet this now, live bet this fight right now. But I don't want to put that on Twitter. I don't want to tell people, hey, put that on, do that, blah, 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 blah. But if we have like a community where we can be like, hey, live bet this now, because there are so many fights that happen where a guy will start strong and then, fall off after the first round. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here, Evan. But I'm excited for this UFC 321 pay-per-view. I've got a lot of strong leans to it. Daniel, I want to get your thoughts. I want to get your thoughts too, Evan. Mario Bautista taking on Umar Nurmagomedov. Evan, let's start with you.
All right, yeah, Umar versus Mario Bautista. I'm pretty confident that Umar Nurmagomedov is going to win this fight. I think that Mario Bautista has proven to be an upper-level contender in the division. I just think he's a Umar Nurmagomedov light. That's kind of how I view him. He's well-rounded everywhere. But I just think he's going to be a step behind in this one. I understand why the odds are what they are. I don't know where Mario Bautista has the advantage, especially in a 3-round fight, because, we saw Umar fade by the end against Merab, but that was a 5-round fight against somebody who pushes the pace more than anybody in the division. But I don't think Bautista is going to do the same thing to Umar. I think Umar is just going to be a step ahead early, and I'm not sure he's going to finish this one, but I actually like him at -150 by decision.
Go ahead, Daniel.
No, yeah, I agree with you. I think that when I look at this fight, I think it's very clear. This is a fight where the odds are basically telling you everything we need to know. I like Mario. Mario's cool. Mario's a good fighter. Mario has done what he's done. He's faced 4 formidable opponents, and he's beaten all 4 of them in his past 4 fights, beating them by decision. And I hate to lean into what the MMA media, and the fans kind of lean, but I'm not overly impressed with Mario Bautista. I saw him get his face jabbed off at the second half of the fight against Patchy Mix. I saw him hold Jose Aldo. That is what it was. He held him. Like, I understand you are winning, but at some point you're going to face a guy where you can't do that against. And I think Umar Nurmagomedov is, if not is, the best bantamweight outside of Merab. I think it's very clear. And I think that he's got the skills to go toe-to-toe with Merab in a championship fight. And I feel like that's what we're destined to see. And I just don't see a world where Mario Bautista is beating Umar. How is he going to beat him? Is he going to beat him in a decision? Maybe that's his path to victory. But I think that in the way that, this fight can go, and I agree with you, Evan, on how this fight can go to decision. The only issue that I have, and this is just looking at the numbers, like his 2 losses have come by finish. He got finished by Corey Sandhagen, and he got finished by Trevin Jones. Like, there's a path to Umar finishing him. Umar is very good, and I know you agree with that. I think Umar is probably the guy that can beat Merab, and I do think that if we see them fight again, I do think that Umar can beat Merab. I think Umar comes out and kind of goes to what Dana White was saying. Hey, he said, can I get a title shot? And Dana said, hey, put on a great performance and make us give you that title shot. And I do think that we could see Umar finish potentially Mario Bautista, but I do agree. I think the win is very clear, and I do think that Umar is next for the title shot, and I think that he's going to get it. So give me Umar to win this fight, and yeah.
I hear you guys speaking on this, and there's a little bit of trepidation in your voices, and you feel maybe Umar is going to take this fight to decision. I disagree with you guys completely.
Mhm.
I disagree with you guys completely. This is my lock of the night.
Yeah.
I think Umar Nurmagomedov goes out there, puts on a great performance, and I think he finishes Mario Bautista inside of 2 rounds. I really believe so. I think he's going to beat Mario Bautista. Matter of fact, I don't know if it's going to be by KO. I don't know if it's going to be by submission, but it's in Abu Dhabi. There's going to be a lot of fanfare. Umar already stated he knows he has put on the best performance of his career, and he's going to do so. Make no mistake about it. This Mario Bautista push, I don't like.
Yep.
Okay, I don't like. This is the same Mario Bautista that cage held Jose Aldo just a couple fights ago. And I thought he lost that fight, to be honest with you guys. Thought he lost that fight. And we'd be talking about him in a completely different light. And that maybe alluded to Jose Aldo retiring. Of course, the Amen's Zahabi loss also attributed to that. But make no mistake about it, I thought that Mario Bautista was gifted a victory, decision victory, much like Sean O'Malley was gifted a decision victory over 𝗬𝗪𝗏. Just one was more egregious than the other. That all being said, Mario Bautista is not on the same level as a Umar Nurmagomedov. And I'm telling you guys this right now. There's a reason why the sports books has let me limit how much I can put on this. And they're not letting me completely max bet this thing. Umar Nurmagomedov is sitting at plus 230 to win this fight by knockout or submission. I'm here to tell you right now, I'm going to put my nuts on the table. I'm going to put everything that I have ever said to you guys on the table here. Mario Bautista is already also telling you how he's going to fight this. He says, I know I can't let this fight go to decision. I'm planning to get Umar out of there in the first round, because he also says we're in Abu Dhabi. So ask yourself, Malik, well, wouldn't that make you a little bit more nervous? No, it makes me more excited about it. You want to know why? Because that means there's going to be more openings for Umar to get a finish. There's going to be more takedown opportunities for Umar to take his back at some point in this fight. If Mario Bautista is actually going in with an aggressive mindset that says, I'm going to finish Umar Nurmagomedov in the first round, I'm telling you right now, he is going to get finished inside of 2 rounds. It is sitting at plus 230. That is my live max bet of the entire card. Umar Nurmagomedov, look at me, guys, is finishing Mario Bautista inside of the first 2 rounds. Take it to the bank. Wrong mentality for Mario Bautista to go into this fight. He should go into this fight with the same mentality that he's been going to this fight. Win at all costs. It could be boring, it could be whatever. But you're playing right into his hands. I think Mario Bautista goes out there, puts on a show, has a great performance to open up the card, the main card, and I think he finishes Mario Bautista inside 2. I'm excited about it. I'm planting my flag. Maybe this is my first head-to-head with Evan Mirza, I guess. I don't know if we disagree too much on that. Let's just say for the sake of energy that this is us disagreeing, because whenever we agree, the opposite tends to happen. So Umar Nurmagomedov by finish is my max play of the year, guys. My max play of the year. If I could, I'd put 100,000 on it. That's how confident I am that it happens. Let's talk Jailton Almeida versus Aleksandar Volkov. Also, again, I have a strong lean for this fight. I think styles make fights. I think stories make fights. I saw Tom Aspinall power slam Volkov to the ground. Not even power slam. He drove him to the ground and got a finish quickly thereafter. I think Jailton Almeida is going to submit Volkov, guys. I like the version of Volkov we've seen lately. And I also thought Volkov beat Ciryl Gane last time he fought him. But I think that Jailton Almeida is the new breed of heavyweights, albeit I don't think Jailton. I agree with DC. I don't know if Jailton Almeida is a great fighter, so to speak. I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know if I'm sorry. I don't know if I disagree with that. I think that Jailton Almeida has a specific skill set that he's really good at, and he's going to execute that. I think Jailton Almeida submits Aleksandar Volkov, and I think he submits him fairly quickly in this fight. Evan, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I know you just said you hated when we agree on things, but I have no choice but to agree with you on this one. I have almost the same exact read here. I mean, Volkov has looked better in his last couple fights for sure. He's turned into somebody who looks like he could challenge Aspinall again, but Almeida is a unique specialist in the fact that he's a great grappler, but he's also incredibly athletic for heavyweight. I'm just not sure with Volkov's takedown defense and probably at a speed disadvantage as well, that I just don't think he's going to be able to stay on his feet very long here. And when he does, I mean, we saw Aspinall, by the time he got him on the ground, he had him submitted in like under a minute. I don't see how Almeida can't just do the same thing. I don't know where I saw improvements with Volkov, but mostly it was just at range. He was better at controlling his range, but nobody's really been able to get him on the ground. If anything, he's been getting more people to the ground, but that's not how this fight's going to go. I think Jailton Almeida by submission is a great play. And I think this is going to set up perfectly for an Aspinall versus Almeida title fight in the future.
I absolutely agree. And I think this is very clear as well. Jailton Almeida has 22 wins. 21 of those have been finishes. Like, it's absurd. Like, this guy is a finisher. And when you look at the record and when you rewatch the fight, what was the fight that he didn't finish? It was Derek Lewis. And it was very clear, at least in my opinion, Jailton could have finished that fight. He didn't want to put himself in any position to even be felt or be touched by Derek Lewis. And I don't think that's the same case for this fight. And you go look at, once again, even the fight that he lost against Curtis Blades. I thought he had great moments in Curtis Blades, hit him with some great elbows. I don't think Volkov has nearly the level of wrestling that Curtis Blades has. This is very clear to me. Jailton Almeida finishes Aleksandar Volkov, and I don't think it's really even close. Like, Almeida is a beast. He is going to go in there and pose as well. And I understand Volkov is tall, but that also is a disadvantage when you go up against a wrestler. The taller fighters tend to, not be as great when it comes to being wrestlers. And Volkov is going to get taken down. He is going to get smashed, and he is going to get submitted. I'm very confident that Jailton Almeida finishes the fight. And I think it's actually pretty good odds. You can get a finish at, I believe, -125, and you can get submission definitely at probably +150 if I had to guess. So a big fan of Jailton Almeida in this fight.
I hear you guys. One thing I want to touch on is really quickly, Virna Jandiroba taking on Mackenzie Dern. Everybody's on the Mackenzie Dern train this week. I'm going to spoil that. Virna Jandiroba is going to beat her in the rematch. And this is a read that I feel very, very strong about. Mackenzie Dern is not championship level. And I think she's really banking on the fact that she beat her last time, that she'll get her again. Evan, I saw you shake your head yes, and you pumped your hand. Give me your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I've been on Virna Jandiroba since probably 2 fights after she came into the UFC. I'm not sure I thought it was going to get to the championship level, but I always thought she was going to be a top contender. I'm all in on the Jandiroba train in this fight for sure. I think Dern at this point, you know what you're going to get out of her. She hasn't really shown some evolution in her game in a long time. I mean, she's won her last 2 fights, but not, I don't know. I just haven't been impressed really while watching her fight. Jandiroba, on the other hand, it seems like every time I watch her, she just builds off of her game plan, and she becomes more and more harder to deal with on the ground. I mean, both these women are grappling specialists. I expect that for 90% of this fight, it's going to be on the ground. But Jandiroba's wrestling is really what has made me confident in her in this one, not her jiu-jitsu. I think Dern is going to be far more trying to play the jiu-jitsu game, while Jandiroba is just going to be able to control this fight. And because of her jiu-jitsu background, I don't think Dern's going to be able to submit her. I think this is going to be one-way traffic for Jandiroba. I think this is going to be a dominant win.
Yes.
I don't know if she's going to get a submission because of Dern's background, but at plus money on the money line, I think that's just a good bet to take anyway.
I got something else I want to add to that. So last time they fought, Mackenzie Dern landed 0 takedowns. 0 takedowns in a 3-round fight that she won by decision. That is when Mackenzie Dern had a lot of the steam, and she's next up. And mind you guys, we're talking about all the way in the year 2020. A lot has happened since 2020. I moved to Cincinnati, Ohio, right? I've started this show. I've created this great platform. I've got to interact with so many of you guys. But a lot has happened since 2020. And I agree with Evan. I think Mackenzie Dern is very much the same fighter. I think Virna Jandiroba has just completely grown. I think the bookmakers have this wrong. I think Virna Jandiroba beats the dog piss, out of Mackenzie Dern. And I don't think it's going to be close, to be honest with you. They have it wrong. Virna Jandiroba should be the favorite, or at the very least, it should be even money. But I guess we're going off of their last fight. And if we're going off of the last fight, there are going to be a lot of people out there who don't see this segment, who don't see this show. They're going to lose a lot of coin because everybody is so excited with the fact that Mackenzie Dern has a big butt and people love her. I mean, let's call it what it is. Let's call it what it is. There are a lot of gooners out there, a lot of weird dudes out there that are betting on Mackenzie Dern because they think she looks great. And she does. She's a beautiful woman. I get that. But the fact of the matter is, beauty ain't going to win your fights. And Mackenzie Dern, albeit I have a lot of respect for what she's done in the sport, and she deserves to be in the spot the way she's built back. She's not beating Virna Jandiroba. But Daniel, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's very clear she's not. And I hate to sound disrespectful, but she's and this talking about Mackenzie Dern. She's 2-2 in her past 4 fights. She's 4-4 in her past 8 fights. She getting a damn title shot. Like, I'm fully of the belief, like, this is an underwhelming title fight, and Virna is probably going to go out there and wrestle her. I was trying to figure out if there was a pathway for her to submit, because I remember watching Virna. I was like, man, she is phenomenal on the ground. But I agree with Evan and I agree with you, Malik, that I do think that we could just see top control and we could just see her smother Mackenzie Dern. And hell, quite frankly, I think she could even get to a point where, you know, I think it was Mackenzie's fight. I forgot who she fought. I don't know if it was Lemos or Amanda Ribas, but Mackenzie just looked bad on the feet at times. And it was like she was getting rocked. And I just haven't seen that out of Virna. Virna's been very, very good over her past 5 fights, and she's won every one of them by decision. So I'm with you guys. I think that getting this at plus money, straight up on the money line, I think is a very good value, because we could see multiple paths to victory, but I think that getting this at plus money is the way to go. I like Virna in this fight to win as well.
Man, I want to talk about something real quick. There's a fight that I'm very, very weird on right now, guys, and I need your help. Is Azamat Murzakanov taking on Aleksandar Rakic. I used to love Aleksandar Rakic, and I still have a love for him. I have championship aspirations for him. I believe the power of Azamat Murzakanov is just different, and I just can't shake the feeling, the vision of seeing him spin Rakic's head back with a shot. Talk me off that ledge there, guys. Evan.
I don't think I can. I think I'm with you on this, and I feel the same way. I really liked Aleksandar Rakic coming up the ladder. I have a lean on this one for Murzakanov to win this by knockout as well. I mean, it seems like in his last 3 fights, you know, Rakic does good work throughout a lot of the fight, and then, you know, when he gets into the pocket, somebody catches him, and he's already, like, he gets wobbled by one good shot. And although you look at Murzakanov, who's a short, kind of stocky, light heavyweight, he doesn't have this, like, you know, jacked build that you think is going to be a knockout artist. This dude's got legitimate power. I mean, real power in those hands. And if Rakic's chin is as shaky as I think it is, I mean, this is a guy who hasn't won a fight in 4.5 years. I think this is going to end with Murzakanov by knockout. But I think this is the fight that we see Aleksandar Rakic move up to heavyweight on, which I've been calling for since he lost to Ciryl. I think that there isn't a spot for him at light heavyweight. I think his frame and just his style would fit a lot better at heavyweight. I think we're going to see a lot of guys that don't fit into the light heavyweight title picture do the same thing as the heavyweights go to more athletic builds. I think Murzakanov wins this by knockout, and Rakic moves to heavyweight.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you guys. I wanted to, because I feel like I really like Rakic. I even picked him in that fight up against Ciryl. You put it best. Like, he looks great and he gets rocked, and it's wraps. Like, in that fight against Ciryl, I know Jiry's a whole nother level of dog and the guy that's going to keep pushing through the shots, but Ciryl broke Rakic in there. It's not like he just knocked him out clean right away. He broke him because Ciryl was hurt. Ciryl was hurt bad, and the tide was in Rakic's favor, and he got rocked right back. And I just think the power that Azamat has, I mean, this is also a dude where I do buy into a guy who's also had an undefeated record at times, and I buy into that confidence. And I think he's going to be heading into this fight with the utmost confidence. I mean, when you look at his stats as well, this dude is a knockout artist. And I think that a lot of times people can look at the height and say, oh, 6'3" versus 5'10". A lot of times that doesn't work in the taller guy's favor. If somebody can come with the overhand right, and I think that's what we see. And I think we see him finish Rakic. And I do think it's sad, but this is going to be the 4th fight in a row that Aleksandar Rakic loses. So.
You know, two quick fights I want to touch on with you guys really quick. Let's make this quick if we can, because we are running a little bit over time. Aleksandar taking on Ju Young Park. Evan, I think that Ikram wins this fight by finish. I just want to get your thoughts on that real quickly.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one as well. Aleksandar on a good streak here. Park has a tendency to get caught on the feet. He likes to counter punch. He likes to take one to get one, and I don't think that's a good idea against Aleksandar.
Yeah. I agree. Last thing, Hasparat taking on Quinlan Sakid. I always pronounce his name wrong. Where's your lean on that fight?
I'm pretty heavy on Nasrat Akparast in this one.
Me too.
Damn,
Sakid, man.
I like Quillen a lot. I do. I think he's got a great set of skills. And I was really high on him into that Yanil Ashmus fight, and he looked great through 2 rounds. And then in that 3rd round, I got really scared when he started to fall off with the gas tank. Akparast has been in, close war after close war, and he comes out on top each and every time. And I don't know if down the stretch, Sakid is going to be able to keep up with Akparast in terms of cardio. And I think he's going to get beat up in the later stages of this fight.
Man. Okay. I guess we're all teeing up for this big one. Here we go, right? We've got Tom Aspinall, the official heavyweight champion, but really not that until you actually win this fight, taking on Ciryl Gane. I lean Tom Aspinall to win this fight via submission. That's where I'm at. But Evan, what say you?
Yeah, I'm with you again, man. It's this fight to me. This is just one of those that is just going to cement Tom Aspinall as probably the most talented heavyweight we've ever seen. I think he's got the best all-around skill set. And a lot of people are going to say this. I mean, with the same thing, Aspinall's a 4-1 favorite. Gane, I don't think he won his last fight against Alexander Volkov, so I don't even think he should really be in this spot. But I mean, he's a dangerous striker. A lot of people are going to talk about his loss to John Jones, but I honestly think the loss to me that means more is how he lost to Francis Ngannou, and how he got out wrestled by Francis Ngannou. Like that, to me, getting out wrestled by Francis Ngannou when you're going up against Tom Aspinall, that's just a bad look. I mean, I don't think this is going to be super hard work for Aspinall, who's a prolific 1st-round finisher. I think this fight is going to look almost identical to Gane's loss to Jones. I think he gets him down. I think he gets him down early. I think he gets him out of there.
Yeah, man, I'm with you. I think, and just when we look at Ciryl Gane, obviously he is a fantastic striker, but when we look at his past 4 fights or 5 fights, right? The Alexander Volkov fight, I agree with you. I thought he lost that decision. First off, no matter what, it is a split decision win. That gets you a title shot. Okay. The fight before that, Sergey Spivak, he dominated Sergey. That was in his home place. That he was the main event. Great performance. But the 3 before that, John Jones completely washed him. The 𝗙𝗎𝗏𝗏 fight, he got rocked bad in that fight. And then the Francis Ngannou fight was a very embarrassing performance, to put it bluntly. It was just a weird title fight. I don't see the path to victory, to be honest with you. I think that these styles are made for a Tom Aspinall victory. Ciryl Gane is not great when he's on the back foot. Like, he has been put by 𝗙𝗎𝗏𝗏 when he was on the back foot. And then we saw what John Jones did to him. I don't think that Ciryl Gane's going to have anything for Tom Aspinall's wrestling. And to be honest with you, I think that when you look at the last pay-per-view we just watched, Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev, there is something to be said when a fighter is in there and they feel pressure from the opening bell. I think that's what Cyryl's going to feel. And I just think that he is out there and he's going to attempt to bide his time. And I think that he's going to try to poke at his legs, try to poke and do what he does. He's an excellent mover. He's one of the most athletic heavyweights we've ever seen. But I think Tom Aspinall is going to go straight for him. And we've seen how quickly Tom has been able to finish fights. I think that we see Tom, whether he finishes him right away or this goes in the 2nd round and he takes him down again and he finishes him, I think we see a very quick 1st or 2nd round finish by Tom Aspinall. And to be honest, I don't really see another way this fight finishes. So, yeah.
Yeah, I would love for Tom to drag him into deep water just to prove to everybody that, hey, I can do this. Like, he's been to a 2nd round before. He it's not his fault that these guys are not durable. And these guys crumble at the sight of a 1-2 punch down the pipeline, or these guys crumble when they get taken to the ground and they get their arm snapped in half by Tom Aspinall. You guys know how I feel. John Jones, yes, I'll say it again. John Jones, everyone's consensus, go duck Tom Aspinall, which is why he quote unquote retired. All respect to John Jones for everything he's done in mixed martial arts, and respect to the Jones family for obviously their loss. But John Jones ducked Tom Aspinall. He did not want that smoke at all, for good reason, because it would have been a career ender for John Jones in such a bad way. I saw that to say Tom Aspinall goes out there, makes quick work of Ciryl Gane, and it's probably the last we hear of Ciryl Gane in the title picture, because I feel like a guy like Ciryl Gane, who's having all these other avenues open up for him, gaming, and then you have acting and all this stuff opening up. I don't know if Ciryl Gane is long for the UFC if he loses this fight. So I say all that to say, Ciryl Gane, we appreciate you bringing a different style to the heavyweight division, but I think this marks the end, because I don't think that Ciryl Gane's going to stay and be a journeyman fighter. So Tom Aspinall wins this fight. Give me Tom Aspinall via submission. Evan, it's going to be a great card. I really hope you and me can jump on a phone call too Saturday, because remember, this card starts early, guys, so you got to wake up with us. Card starts at 10 a.m. 10 a.m. So guess what? You'll have enough time to watch UFC, and then probably still watch your college football and then hang out with your friends at night. But we're trying to make you guys some money. We're trying to help you guys cash in. Again, my favorite play of this card, and my Patreon subscribers are probably going to kill me for saying this, Umar Nurmagomedov via finish. Trust me on that. It's going to smash, it's going to hit, and you're going to be very happy that you took that play. So many more plays to get to. So many more plays we're going to talk about. You get Evan's plays, you get my plays, you get Daniel's plays, you get the whole entire team's plays. But the right tier is where you get my plays. We appreciate y'all again. Evan, thank you again, man. We appreciate you, brother. I look forward to recapping this event with you on Monday, and we'll talk here.
Have a good one.
Yes, sir. Make sure you guys give Evan a follow. I'm sure he's looking forward to, rub it in my face if he gets some wins correct. You also spoke, we listened. You guys said you wanted merch. We decided to get merch. We got TWSN merch, Sit Down merch, State of the Jungle merch for you guys. We appreciate you guys for supporting the show. So if you guys would like to get any merch, we have hats, hoodies, pullovers, the whole 9 yards. We got so much more coming out as well. Click the link down below. We're going to do a giveaway, some sort of giveaway here soon, because we really do appreciate you guys for making us part of your regular routine. But that's all the time we got, guys. We got a big week in sports, college football, NFL, UFC, man. I'm so excited to be waking up and watching the sport I love in UFC. I'm so pumped up about it, man. And I'm so pumped up. We got NBA action tonight. There's a lot to get into. I also want to make a quick little correction on the Rudy Gobert thing. Rudy Gobert has not had a double-double in every single game against the Los Angeles Lakers. It's actually been very, very spotty recently against that. I'll have my plays that I'm looking forward to, but I do think Rudy Gobert does get a double-double tonight against the Lakers, and I think he makes everyone forget about the 6 rebounds he had against the Trailblazers to start the season. And they have some very good big men. But anyway, I want to thank you guys again for tuning in. Remember, there's only one way you should be waking up, talking sports, having the conversation, enjoying your cup of coffee, and that is the right way. We'll see you guys back here Monday at 10:30 a.m.
This is TWSN.